Hey there, SoonlyWeds. Welcome back to another episode of our vendor Q&A, and today we are talking all about our florists. Which flowers would you recommend to help us maximize our budget? So guys, your florist goes to the flower market most likely, and this means that they know which flowers have the most discounted prices, what flower comes in the most quantity that will allow you guys the biggest spread, as well as what's quote-unquote bargain flora. So if you're looking to save money, any good florist will recommend that you guys opt for local in-season flowers as a great cost-saving alternative to shipping in expensive flowers that aren't in season near you. How do you price your floral arrangements, and do you have a minimum floral budget? So some floral shops actually have what's known as a minimum budget, which means that no matter how expensive your particular quote might be, say if their shop minimum is $1,000, that means you won't get any florals for under $1,000 no matter what service you choose to contract. But not all florists have that. So this is a beneficial question for you so that you know from the very beginning what your price range is looking like. If the shop that you're interested in does happen to have a minimum floral budget, and at least asking gives you the opportunity to decide if it's something that you can financially commit yourself to doing, or if it's something that might be a little bit out of your budget. But knowing how your florist just prices their overall arrangements is going to be helpful for you guys. And because depending on your guest count, you're going to need a certain amount of bouquets, a certain amount of centerpieces, and all these different things. Every florist does it a little bit differently, so asking your particular florist how they like to come up with their pricing is extremely helpful when deciding whether or not you can actually afford them. Personally, I recommend being upfront about the logistics of your wedding, meaning how much your maximum floral budget is, how many bridesmaids you're going to have, how many bouquets you'll need, your estimated guest count so that they can get an idea of the amount of table centerpieces you're going to need. Just be as forthcoming as possible, and that way you'll truly get an understanding of how far your budget can get you with your vendor, and they'll have an idea of how much you can afford, and you guys can together decide whether or not it's going to be a good fit financially. How would you describe your design style? On every episode of this vendor Q&A, this is always my favorite question, just because, as always, it gives you the opportunity to hear from your vendor's mouth how they describe their own work, the elements that they like to use, and I would just think it's very telling when you ask someone to describe their style, the words that they choose to use. So are they saying things like traditional, modern, organic, structured? All those mean different things in the floral industry. So pay attention to how they describe themselves and ask a few more questions if you don't understand. But take it from me, guys. Personally, nothing beats hearing someone who has a real craft, a real artistry, describe their work from their mouths. It's so telling. You get to know so much more about what it is that they like, their particular style, and then from then, once you have that description, you can decide for yourself if you would like to incorporate that into your wedding day or how you can see it fitting. Can we see photographs or live examples of your work? Now, after you ask them for examples of the work, also ask them whether or not the examples that they're showing you are reflective of their personal style and work that they like to produce, or is the example they're showing you a specific request from a client that they were able to execute. Now, neither one of these is a bad thing, because if you like it and you connect with it, then that means awesome. You like their work, you like their artistry. That's a step in the right direction for your potential relationship. But if you dislike their actual work and what it looks like, then that's okay potentially if the request has come from a client and they were able to execute, because that means that they're able to take direction even if it's not necessarily their style, which can be a good thing. So at least you know that they're flexible. Now, if you just straight up hate the examples that they showed you, ask to see some examples that they think is reflective of their own style. That way you can get a true understanding for their work and their concept. If I give you a picture of a bouquet or centerpiece that I like, can you recreate it? And this just really speaks to their overall willingness to recreate and execute something that's not their overall original design. As we've talked about in past vendor videos, your vendors are really artists in their own right, and sometimes they're not comfortable working off of a photo, but that is good to know if you have really fallen in love with this photo and this is what you would like to see recreated and brought to life for your day. So just go ahead to ask so that you know what their working style is. Can I give you feedback? Can I give you visual suggestions and clues that I would really like to be communicated in my florals? Or would you just like to know my overall style, see some photos that I like, and you'll work and create your own rendition and find your own way to bring these details through to your final piece. Are you able to create a sample table arrangement or table mock-up before our wedding? If so, would that be at an additional cost? Having your florist create a table mock-up for you to review before your actual wedding day gives both you and your florist the opportunity to see how all the floral and decor elements are working together and to make any last minute adjustments if you feel there needs to be. They're also a surefire way to make sure that everyone is on the same page. They're typically done with enough time remaining before your wedding that if something does need to be tweaked, it can be. Now, this may or may not come at an additional cost depending on your florist, so it's a good question to ask because some florists will just include it while others may say that you do have to pay an extra fee for it. Even if it does have to come at an additional cost for your particular vendor, I would still suggest paying for it. I actually think that it's worth the cost because it allows you to see what your florals will feel like on the day. It's a delivery setup breakdown of our floral decor already included in our package, or is that at an additional fee? This is important to know because these are the small line items that actually add up to being large ticket items if you aren't aware of them. Expecting your florist to not only assemble your florals but then deliver and bring them on site, and then you find out like, oh hey, no, I just dropped them off, but I'm not actually supposed to be setting them up, and it's your wedding day and no one is allotted to do that, and now you have to work on your wedding. No one wants that for you. I don't want that for you guys. It's your wedding day. Don't work. Is there an extra fee if I need you to stay on site throughout the ceremony to move our arrangements from our ceremony location to our reception location? Not all florists will do this, but can get them to agree. It usually does come at an additional price. This is because not only do they have to then assemble your florals and deliver them to the site, but they also have to wait your ceremony, which usually is not that long depending on your particular culture and religion, but it could be. And once that has wrapped, they then take the ceremony florals, the arch, whatever they may have created, and they then take it to the reception location and begin to actually decorate and stuff. Now, some florals may or may not charge for this. Some do not, because they already have to set up the centerpieces and everything for the reception, so they'll be on site anyway, but it kind of just depends on your particular florist. So just ask so that you can have a clear idea of what you do and do not need to be budgeting for. Able to provide organic, pesticide-free, and sustainably grown florals for all my couples who are hoping to have as close to a clean wedding, zero waste wedding as possible. As obviously organic is just better if you don't have to get florals that have pesticides, then you know that you're probably going to pay just slightly more for it. Use floral foam. Like, having a sustainable or zero waste wedding is important to you, then be sure to ask your florist whether or not they use floral foam. Florists often use fire foam to give arrangement structure and to make sure that the actual florals themselves have access to water. The floral foam is not biodegradable. It is made of single-use plastic, and those things do not really vibe with sustainability. So something that's important to you. Ask your florist if they offer any sustainable alternatives, such as using chicken wire as opposed to floral foam. What happens to the florals after the wedding? Again, keeping in line with sustainability, if you guys are a couple that would like to eliminate as much waste as possible, consider setting up a donation system with your florist where after your wedding, they will take all of your centerpieces, all of the untaken bouquets, and bring them to local hospitals, churches, nursing homes, wherever, just to maximize the life of the flowers and also the joy that they bring. Like, they were beautiful for your celebration, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to be left there after it. Arranging for your florist to actually pick up the florals and give them a second home where they'll actually get to be used and celebrated. Not only gets the most out of your money, but you also get to bring smiles to people, the same price. Now, if you're like asking about it because you would like to reuse your arrangements for like a day after brunch, you want to discuss the details with your florist. As like usually they can often work it in, but work the cost in, but that's something that you want to be 100% certain of instead of just assuming. That's really it, guys. Later. Bye.